Yo, 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 what's up? What's up? Peace and blessings, family. Appreciate you for tuning in and let's talk about it. Kings and Queens, today we're going to get into some real juicy and deep perspectives and opinions on how men and women view each other and how we've been viewing each other for generations now, traditional wise, right? Um, Via my the man that we love to hear and talk about, Andrew Tate. But please keep in mind that everything we talk about on this platform is opinion and perspective oriented only. Nothing is factual. And, with that in mind, please view it with peace and love. Let's get into it.
The difference between me and you is that you're glorified for it, and I am burned at the stake for everything that I've been through. I'm seen as used goods. You're seen as a high-value man.
It's interesting you make the observation, and you are correct. It's unfair, I guess. The world's not fair, but that's the difference between the masculine and the feminine. Men are respected for going through things and surviving, and women are the complete opposite. They're shamed for going through things and surviving. Women love scars on men for a reason. He's gone through something he
They're
did.
war wounds.
Yeah, they're war wounds. Men don't want a chick covered in scars. I'll say this right now. A woman, the more trauma she goes through, the more masculine she naturally becomes. And if you were to give me my ideal woman, I would not want her to have a hard life and a bunch of trauma. I like the idea of her having a soft feminine life and being a soft person, and I can take care of her and protect her. Whereas as a man, to be a good man, you need to have been through a bunch of trauma, because if you haven't been through trauma as a man, you're a weakling. You have to have been through a bunch of shit.
Yo, look. Some of y'all may like it, some of y'all may not. But the reality is he spoke on a lot of strong points, right? That I agree with personally, that most men, I believe, myself included, will prefer a woman that has been unscarred, abused, that have not witnessed too much struggle. But the reality is that, right, okay, I could come at this in two different ways. I could come at this from a cultural standpoint, right? Specific for different people in different communities, or I could come at this from a universal understanding and a universal standpoint, right? Culturally, from a cultural standpoint, that's another conversation, another video. But the reality is that, yes, majority of men, I believe, would prefer a woman that is less scarred, less abused, right? Not because we want a woman that's perfect, or because any misplaced sense of control or anything like that, but simply because we want to protect our woman from abuse. We want to protect a woman from pain, from struggle, right? And there is some man, and it does take a specific kind of man for sure, that can take a woman that have been through pain and struggle and bear with her, right? And help her heal. But the reality is nobody can begin to understand even nowadays how to help someone heal. So no one really wants to meet someone in a struggling, scarring place, right? Especially if you have moved past your pain and your struggle, right? As a man or woman, right? I agree with him on that. That majority of men does want a woman that have less pain, less struggle, less scars, right? And we have we have an innocence to protect, right? Now, on the opposite end, I do not believe that men have to go through struggle to be considered a man or a strong man, right? A man or I do not believe a man have to go through trauma, okay? Specifically trauma. Trauma should not be normalized. Let's not normalize that. Pain is universal, right? That is a key point to take away from this conversation. Pain is universal. Trauma should not be normalized, okay? And nor men or women, okay? Trauma is a statement of mental instability. Okay. A man should, man, if anything that I say makes sense in this conversation, let it be this. Trauma should not be normalized in neither men or women, but pain is universal. Okay? And no one should be looked at as lesser because they have gone through pain. So that's why I say on the first point that he made of men preferring women that have gone through less pain, I agree with him to a point. But the reality is, that just simply says that those men that think like that have a lack of maturity and have a lack of growth of humanity, or understanding in humanity and society and people. Right? Have a lack of understanding of people. So those men that think like that. Okay. Now, right now that is, and again, I believe he was speaking strongly on traditionally, right? So to play devil's advocate, right? He was speaking traditionally, which I can understand, but speak against that, we need to break each other out of these traditional boxes and standards that we hold each other to as men and women. Granted, men should have specific attributes to be considered masculine. Women should have specific attributes to be considered feminine, for sure, without a doubt. And again, we will get into those specific attributes in another video. But for this conversation we're having now, 3 things I want to speak on. 1, trauma should not be normalized. 2, pain is universal. And 3, we need to break ourselves out of these cubes and boxes we put each other in as men and women. We can grow, we can learn, we can adapt, we can change. Okay? So, that being said, right, I will expound more in future videos. Please stay in tune. Please keep up with me. I love you. Stay blessed.